green mobility is something that we all need to talk about, care about. We've seen the kind of restrictions coming in Delhi with the pollution levels, and I'm sure many of you who bought cars in 2020, diesel cars, cannot drive them anymore because there's a ban on BS4 diesel vehicles, and then the whole 10-year ban, all of that. So that's just one aspect to it, right? There's a whole lot more to green mobility when we talk about it. It is about making the entire mobility infrastructure sustainable. And when I speak about that, the PM e-drive scheme was something that was brought in to encourage more electric mobility in the country. But is that enough? And to first start the discussion, I'd like to take that to Anumita. From a policy point of view, is the PM e-drive scheme enough to incentivize the adoption of electric vehicles? Because right now they leave out four-wheelers, but it does include two-wheelers and commercial vehicles.
That's a great question. And so PM e-drive, we need to see this in continuation of the whole FAME program. And this is just 2 more years. Now, first, the kind of shifts in strategies that we notice in the PM e-drive, the way it has been drafted. For the first time, we are seeing a migration towards big vehicles, the trucks, becoming the focal point of the change for the first time, which I don't see is, it's a very important move actually, because trucks are 45% of the emissions from transport. So that's one. And second, that the L5, so trucks and autos, and in between, support for charging. Now, and also testing. So clearly, it is kind of taking an approach of addressing some gaps in what was happening so far. But the question is this enough, as you're asking? And clearly, if we really want to have and meet an ambitious target of decarbonization by 2030, it's certainly not enough. And the reason being that to drive an ambitious program, you need regulatory targets and mandate. And the missing piece today is that we are only focusing on the demand side incentive, but we are not doing enough to create supply side management, because we need to bring both together. Demand side incentive is creating competition for limited supply of EV models in the market and putting an upward cross pressure. Okay. But we need the supply side mandate and regulatory mandate and a long-term policy visibility, so that industry also builds confidence, has a confidence in bringing good investments in the sector, and we can make this really scalable. That is the kind of change that we're really looking at. And the reason I'm also focusing so much on supply side management is that the time has also now come to give industry the target for a certain percentage of its product to be EVs annually. Only with that, we will see the competition working in the market in a way that will bring in a lot more product diversity and put a downward pressure on the costs. So that's where we really need to design our strategy as we move forward.
Okay. I'd like to come to Rahul-san on this. One, a quick thought on the PM e-drive scheme. And second, I'd like you to elaborate on, as you're the country's largest four-wheeler maker, how you view the future of green mobility, since you are working on multiple technologies. If you could just highlight for me, because EV is probably just one option, but there are so many others in between when it comes to incremental gains to the environment. So if you could just highlight that.
Sure. What I'll do is I'll retrace just one step and go back to the objective, the national objectives. We have 2 objectives. One is oil import reduction, and 2 is carbon emission reduction. Yeah. Fortunately, both are very closely correlated to each other, and one can serve as a proxy to the other. Now, if we are talking about carbon reduction from the entire economy, first, of course, we have to be mindful of, or oil import reduction in the entire economy, we have to be mindful of where the bulk is. So and it has to be with respect to time also. So, for example, if today I have one technology that can, let's say, reduce 90% of emissions in some cars, but the scalability of that is, let's say, 2, 5, 10%. We would like to expand that, but I have to do something about that 90% also. We need a portfolio of technologies that can address the whole fleet and do it at the fastest possible. So as Ms. Anumita said, that we have to accelerate electrification, and the best way to do that is to have consumer confidence, so that they just forget about range anxiety or any other apprehensions that they have in mind in switching to this technology. It is the manufacturer's job to create that confidence and to accelerate EVs with as much as local manufacturing as possible, which is why we are also getting into that. And for local manufacturing, we need economies of scale. For that, we are bundling exports with it. So that is one strategy. The second is, what do we do about the rest of the portfolio? Because electrification, see, even in Europe today, it is about 15%, 10 in US, 25 in China, pure BEV. If we add PHEV, another 15 or something. We need to do something for the next 10 years at least. I mean, if we have some kind of urgency in our mind, with the other part of the portfolio also. At that point to cover that, there are some technologies like biofuels, ethanol. I'm talking about compressed biogas, or strong hybrid or plug-in hybrid electric vehicles that can cover maximum part of the fleet as early as possible, possibly today, and where the options are scalable, the customer adoption is fast. So we are working on a multiple technology pathway, and we are trying to use all tools to attack carbon.
Okay. Uday, to get your view on that.
Well, first of all, great. Thanks, Effie, for hosting such a great event. And green energy sustainability should be on everybody's agenda. Before I answer the PME drive, Delhi's air quality, year after year, we just blame each other, right? We blame Punjab will blame us, and we'll just keep playing the game, and we'll just say, let's worry about the elections and forget about the environment. The other thing that I really want to say is, if you really care about this country and if you really care about India, thoda sa apni jeb mein haath dalne ki thodi si aadat rakho. Because if first thing what people ask is, agar EV खरीदना है तो ICE से सस्ता होना चाहिए, right? मैं तो commercial sector में यही देख रहा हूँ, sir. I've been working on my Hindi a lot because too many years abroad, and now I got to work in this country. So, but what I want to say is, I think all of us have to now think that if we care about our future generations, and whether it is EV, whether it's ethanol, whether it's hydrogen, but we've got to think a little bit about our future generation. Yeah? And we keep saying, we build vehicles in this country, and this will come to PME drive, right? If we really care about our country, I know you all want to live in big houses, drive big cars, and send your wives to vacations, but I'll tell you, your kids need to breathe this air. And if it shows 400, it ain't even 400. My Swiss friends say it's up to 800, 900,000. It doesn't even matter, right? And I think it's toxic. It's like smoking 50 cigarettes a day, all of us. And I think, we come to these conferences, please, ladies and gentlemen, when you get out there, please think about your kids, all right? And I think we're going to make. The PME drive is extremely, FAME 1, FAME 2, PME. We've got a lot of policies. And I'll tell you, if at least, I've spent enough time in the United States and Europe. It's not Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe's on his way out. He doesn't even remember the door out, which way to go. But I'll tell you clearly, in this country, if you're running a business dependent on subsidy, I think you're going to be done, right? I think if you get it, ma'am, I'll tell you what, you're absolutely right. It's never enough. But I think if any one of you is building a business based on subsidy, you're done. I just don't think it's going to work. I think you've got to work. The PME model is a drop in the ocean, right? It's the step in the right directions. We worked on the trucks. I've been part of this journey for a long, long time. Let's be honest. You're absolutely right, madam. 40% of pollution is done by trucks. I'll speak reality. I speak very, straightforward. I don't, maybe too many years in the front lines. I got to speak the right things. Is that 500 crores for trucks means nothing. These boys burn that probably in just in, advertising in a year, right? You know what I mean? I'm talking not of that, but I'm just saying in terms of, so I think, I'm kidding on the number, but I'm just saying it's nothing, right? A country of this size, 1.4 billion people. So I think we've got to, the one thing I am clear after spending 7 years on the front lines of this green energy sustainability, अगर EV बेचना है तो ऐसे cheaper बनाना पड़ेगा तभी लोग खरीदेंगे क्योंकि अगर मैं environment की बात करूँगा nobody, because if they were, look at Delhi, right? The numbers, I was a Wall Street fund manager for a long time, I watched the numbers. The numbers of EVs on the ground in Delhi is going down. Forget about diesel, right? एक दो ट्रक मतलब गाड़ियाँ बंद कर दो, ये कर दो, वो कर दो. But on the ground क्या हो रहा है, right? अच्छा, आप पोर्टल ही बंद कर देते हो तो सब्सिडी भी नहीं मिलती. So my point is, PME Drive is good. I really, really have a lot of respect for the Department of Heavy Industries. Qureshi ji is fabulous. Sudhendu ji is amazing. But आप सबको अगर इस कंट्री में धंधा करना है, मारुति की तरह है, economics में बात करो, and EV में तो खासकर, make it cheaper. Now, battery prices are gone down, the ecosystem is building, and I at least think the four-wheeler game is a bit longer down the road in terms of high concentration, but at least two-wheelers, three-wheelers, 1 ton. It's great, ma'am, on the trucks, but how many 55-ton trucks are you seeing in EV? मैं numbers की बात कर रहा हूँ, right? LinkedIn और picture में बहुत अच्छा लगता है, but ground की बात करें, right? और इस country को आगे बढ़ाने की बात करें, right? Then only will we improve, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I might have taken that PME drive out, but I'll speak my mind on this.
Absolutely. Actually, I agree with you, right? And I want to add a quick point here. So let's do the reality check. Intended target, 30 at 30. And we are at close to 6% today, right? 6% to 30%, the minimum that we can aspire for. Huge gap. Now the question is, where is the committed market for EV batteries and the EVs today? If I understand this in terms of batteries, you are also giving PLI support for 50 gigawatt hour. Do you know the FAME together, if we'll take at least the 1 million two-wheelers that FAME is supporting, that has committed demand for just 2.3 gigawatt hour, right? And few more, maybe, for the cars, little bit of cars and little bit of buses. As of today, what we hear from others is that you are perhaps dealing with 4 gigawatt hour of battery. Yeah. Now, if you are giving incentive for 50 gigawatt hour and you are making forecasts that we may actually have 148 gigawatt hour, 200 gigawatt hour by 2030, 35, but there are forecasts, but there is no committed demand for that. You have not tied the market with that. So the scalable market where you actually get a cheaper EV, not because of the subsidy, but because of the economy of scale, we have not even started working in that direction. So that's what I'm saying, that we now have to work that how do you make the market and the competition work to make the EV scalable. And my final point here is responding to what he's saying, that yes, you may have intermediate solutions, right? The hybrids, the biofuels. But if that is your destination, and if you detract too much, then your investments is going to get spread thin, and you will not get there. And here, therefore, what I would say, that if you look at the way European regulations have been designed, so they say that, okay, you do zero tailpipe emission, that is your target. But if you are producing other technologies like hybrids and others, then they have given a target. It should be just 50 gram of CO2 to be met. And in a hybrid, at least 70% of the driving time should be on battery. So therefore, just saying that hybrid in India is just 25% better than the ICE, and therefore we should support it, I don't think that's really the best way to move if we have to really meet that ambitious target.
What I'll probably see, if with the best of our combined efforts, we are able to, today car penetration, EV car penetration in the country is 2%. Many more manufacturers, including ourselves, with powerful products, with features which we think the customer will scale up fast, adopt fast, with good range, which give customers a lot of confidence. It may inch up further, let's say 5-10% soon. What do we do about the 90%? My investments in the battery are not going to reduce because I'm concentrating something on the 90. In fact, the economies of scale and the economies of scope will be helped if both these electrified technologies come together. I purposely did not talk about anything milder than strong hybrid because it's too much, it's almost icy. But, if I were to leave that 90% of ICE as it is, should I not attempt something that can generate a result of 36%? We have two models today, a Grand Vitara and an Invicto. The Grand Vitara generates an energy efficiency improvement of 36% and the Invicto of 44%. 44% means almost, it's almost 1.5 times it does. So it's like 1/3 or between a third and a half of an EV operating. And because of these economies of scale, India's only lithium-ion cell manufacturing plant, we have been able to start in Gujarat because we were able to get that hybrid kind of volumes. So that 90 has nothing to do with this 10. Our focus on this 10 will not reduce. It is this, the balance that we have to cover because we have to cover 100% of the fleet. This part I agree, it's an intermediary technology. Sooner or later when battery prices drop and EVs become mainstream, probably they may dilute in favor of EVs, yes. But biofuels are not intermediary. Biofuels may be a good long-term solution. It may be the best natural way to capture solar energy in a natural way and even do away with methane emission. So it gives us for example, CBG, we've done some calculations. It may be actually carbon negative. That is why we are thinking, can that help us? So we are deploying our R&D and our investments on all possible technologies. The last thing I would like to mention is the last word on technology is yet to be written. See, for example, 6 years ago, I was with all our, there was nothing called hydrogen ICE on the horizon. Now we are seeing it is a technology which can catapult us or it can bring back hydrogen by at least a couple of decades. And maybe when hydrogen ecosystem picks up, then FCEVs can take over. Battery technology, the chemistries are changing every 3 or 4 years. So now we are sodium ion, there's metal air, so that's a constant subject of research where we would like to devote so that if we have any better and certainly more economical option. The biggest challenge I would say for auto manufacturers is to have technology which is scalable, clean technology which is scalable. That means, scalable means it should be, as he rightly said, the customer should be able to adopt it at better economics. So that's the challenge that we have, and that is something we are applying ourselves to.
Just one thing, you know what is so good, and Roshun son, you've been in this game long enough. बहुत अच्छा लगता है. हम लोग जो startup world में हैं, even though I'm not really a startup, but a startup world, the big boys and the girls have come to the party. When Maruti Suzuki talks about building EVs, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है. तो थोड़ा बहुत जो हमने काम किया, मतलब like Marines जाके थोड़ी लैंड माइन्स लेके थोड़े आर्म्स उड़ गई, पैर उड़ गए और बहुत सारे पैसे भी उड़ा दिए. लेकिन what is good, and I keep coming back to is, कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी लाओ, लेकिन इस कंट्री को क्लीनर करो, है ना? मैं सिर्फ यही बार बार बोल रहा हूँ, विकसित भारत और थर्ड लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी, स्टॉक मार्केट बहुत बूम कर रही है, अगर इस पे ध्यान नहीं लेगा. एंड आई थिंक व्हाट इज रियली गुड, for all of this, we've been able to bring, and this is superb, we've got Rahul Bajaj, who was going to eat somebody for breakfast in the EV business. We've got everybody in the game. And you know what? Only one person, the men and women of this country, too, the men and women are equal, make sure about that, is that we will get, that we will get a cleaner and a greener India. And I think that is the most important part. And I think if we keep going down this journey, 100% you'll build vehicles which will be able to, you build such a big scale, right? So, आपके पास technology, आपके पास पैसा, आपके पास firepower, सब कुछ है. तो इस journey में, I think, battery price is only going one way, downtown. And we can maybe have a discussion on battery, because the PLI scheme was given to people. If you go back, and ma'am, I'm again and again going to go back to the data. ऐसे ऐसे लोगों को PLI स्कीम दे दी जिनको बैटरी स्पेलिंग भी नहीं आती, राइट? सो प्लीज, मैं बहुत ही कंट्रोवर्शियल चीजें बोल रहा हूं लेकिन रियलिटी वाली बात कर रहा हूं. बैटरी बनाना कोई मजाक की बात नहीं है. CATL एंड एवरीबॉडी एल्स, यू नो, वी रियली, आई कीप सेइंग, भाषण कम और काम ज्यादा ऑन द ग्राउंड, तभी होगा. सॉरी.
It's interesting you brought up battery chemistry because that's something I wanted to ask you about as well. When we talk about sustainable mobility, green mobility, battery chemistry, the manufacturing of batteries also has to be sustainable, right? You're talking about lithium-ion batteries now. Lithium-ion batteries, lithium is a scarce commodity. Yes, we have said we have new reserves of lithium in the country, but how much of environmental damage are we going to see mining that lithium, and can we convert it at an economically sustainable rate for everyone to use?
You're absolutely, I don't know if you know my background. I was one of the world's larger commodity traders in the world in my younger days, and I'll tell you what, I don't know if any of you actually, I spent a lot of time in DRC Congo, I've spent time in Latin America. You're absolutely right. And the lithium mines are all controlled by the Chinese, unfortunately. Yeah. They all bought it all up. Smart move, but they bought all the commodity. They bought the manganese, they bought the lithium, the manganese, all the mines. And you're absolutely right. The other question is, we've got all of these charging infra, but it's being actually powered by brown, by coal. So actually, are we doing the right thing? So look, it's a very complicated, I don't want all these young men and women here, run away from the EV business. We want them in, we don't want them out. The point is that you're absolutely right. LFP, NMC, all these metal air, all these technologies. But mere view mein, ये technology बहुत fast, it's moving very fast. And, for example, if you're a Maruti Suzuki, well, what battery, because you want scale. And technology, 2 years later, changes. You make a huge investment, and some kid in Raipur comes up with a new technology that does something different. So, but I do believe that, this is something that we've got to make sure that we do have to get, I do think long term, we have to get off, lithium. We've got to be able to get some new technology that will come. It'll come. There's a lot of people working on this. There's a lot of money out there. I don't know what the dynamics are going to change with Trump's son coming over, because Biden administration was very much, there's a lot of moving parts. But I will say that there will be a lot more in this space. But battery prices are definitely coming downtown. And I'll tell you, this is going to make very much an effort. At least what I'm seeing. Ma'am, I'll tell you, we've been working on three-wheelers. The TCO model works, right? We came up with a 15-minute fast charging. Three-hour battery charge is doing almost 3,500 kilometers. Now we're doing 6,500. So I think there's move in the right direction. I think four-wheelers mein thoda kaam karna padega. Anyway,
TCO in the three-wheelers are the easiest to address. They are the lowest hanging fruits, followed by two-wheelers, and then maybe intra-city buses with fixed routes and fixed charging. And then, of course, then maybe taxis and shared mobilities in cars, and then personal cars. So, but yes, we have to address all segments.
Right. No, and in fact, Rahul, I just wanted to also talk about, when we're talking about green mobility, while EV is just one small part of it, it's also about being totally sustainable across the ecosystem, right? And sustainable means environment, the economy, and providing employment as well, right? We were talking a little while ago about how you've come up with a project where you're actually getting down to the farm level and being able to get your bio CBG produced in a sustainable way. Right. So if you could just elaborate on that.
Okay. So compressed biogas is, let's say, it can be made from feedstock like either paddy straw, which is agri-waste or bio-waste, or animal waste. For example, cow dung, and in our country we respect cows a lot. A very powerful statistics that I would like to place before you is 10 cows produce cow dung in a day, which can power one car for 1 day. As simple as that. There is so much energy content there that we were just sacrificing. This is energy. I'll come to the environment part now. When the cow digests, when it has the droppings, in the next 24 hours, it emits a lot of methane. And methane has a huge multiplier GHG effect on the environment. It is really damaging. And it's happening all over the country. If we are able to capture that methane and actually use it as natural gas is what? It's 94% methane.
Yeah.
So if we are able to capture that, and instead of getting let go in the environment, if we use it as a fuel, it actually is carbon negative. So this is a beautiful option, and when we worked on the viability of producing compressed biogas, it is viable. There are very, very limited problems of feedstock availability, logistics, carrying the cow dung from the farmers or the gaushalas to the gas plant, and disposable. Okay, when you produce biogas, you produce 3 times organic manure. That is a challenge and a boon. Boon because it can improve the soil quality of India. We are using chemical fertilizers and we are spoiling our health. So that can actually enrich the soil. It's such a natural way to do it. Of course, it will have to be gradually used in some combination with chemical for some time at least. And organic, sorry, where was I? Yes, it produces 3 times that organic manure. That can help. It can help eliminate, the burning of paddy straw and all the Punjab fires that you spoke about. They can get eliminated. Farmers' incomes can go up. It is such an inclusive way of capturing India's unique wealth and capturing it into clean energy, and it is fully viable.
Right.
And there are so many government projects. So many state governments are now incentivizing it. The big names like the Ambanis, the Adanis, ourselves, Maruti, Suzuki, we are putting a lot of money and effort in research, even CSR. I have a CSR project of about 40 crores only to sensitize farmers across some 20,000 acres in India how to use organic manure so that the compressed biogas plants can become viable if they start taking up that organic manure. It's such a beautiful proposition. Ethanol is another. Of course, ethanol has its own, it has different feedstock, it has different, it has its own context, but they are real options.
Right. No, that's a very interesting point that you bring up. And yes, a 10 cow power car, that's something that I'm going to use when I'm talking about car power after the instead of horsepower. Anyway, Anumita, your view on this, if we were to move into a sustainable ecosystem, while EVs is one part of it, this affects a larger number of people. Do you think this can be a solution for like even urban mobility, bio-CNG as a solution instead of just pure EV?
So this is part of the whole circularity that we now need to see. And we have to ensure that while we are minimizing waste, but we should also be able to reuse the waste. And this is really a very CBG. I'm focusing on the biogas that you generate, not only from the agricultural waste, but also the municipal solid waste. And you must have heard that how a city like Indore today is actually utilizing its municipal organic waste to run 400 buses. So that is an amazing connection, that where you are connecting mobility with circularity. So clearly this is going to be one of the solutions for a circular economy as it needs to evolve in our urban India. But circularity has a much broader concept, and this is one of them. And especially in the automotive sector now, whether you're looking at it from the ICE perspective or EV perspective, first the ICE. And today, what is happening, there is so much focus on new electric vehicle, BS6, now we are moving to BS7, bringing in a lot more sophisticated advanced technologies now. But fleet renewal and the legacy vehicles have continued to remain a big problem. Even though Ministry of Road Transport and Highways has come up with a scrappage policy, they now have said that all commercial vehicles need to undergo test in the automated testing center so that we can identify the unfit vehicles to be scrapped. And then you should set up proper scrappage facilities and then incentivize that you replace the old ICE with new EV. That kind of policy. This whole ecosystem, therefore, has to come in, but it has to work well. Recently, when we looked at the Vahan data, you'll be amazed that you are testing more than 3 lakh vehicles, say for instance, and out of that, you are declaring only 10 to 17 vehicles as end of life. Clearly, there are a lot of leakages, and we are not being able to do that. It's a huge waste, because the material that you need to recover from the end of life vehicles that can come back into production, that circularity is essential. And also the same breath, the EV. Now, we thought EV program is new. Where are the waste EV batteries? But when we go to the EV battery centers now, they're piling up. And what is very important, but we do have the battery waste management rules now. But the infrastructure for it, it's still hugely managed by the informal sector, which is dangerous also, and we are losing our waste. But the formal sector that is coming up is not getting adequate support yet. But more important from the perspective of our economy, that what you earlier said about the critical minerals. It is true that the mining and all of these things are a problem, but for material security and supply side security, recycling is going to play a big role to recover that material back for battery manufacturing. But in India today, we have just developed a capacity to recycle it only to the point of taking the black mass out of the battery. But further refining, to use it in our own battery production, we are not still there. And as a result, our resource actually getting exported to other countries. So this whole ecosystem will have to be well understood and put in place very quickly.
Right. Uday, if this come to you, this one of the ways, and I'll come to Anumita also after that, one of the ways in which we can probably look at a green mobility solution is by encouraging more public transport. Which is needed in this country, but we still don't have that end-to-end connectivity. That's one. Two, in the manufacturing process that you have, how much of it is actually green manufacturing when it comes to your production itself?
This is a very, very valid point. I mean, everything that we're talking about, and ma'am, you're absolutely spot on the conditions of what battery recycling. Look, you should go and look. I mean, I've gone down in lead acid batteries, the way they're getting recycled. It's just terrible. And I think this all comes back to recycling, focus, and the focus cannot be कि announcement कर दी, उसके बाद move on कर गए, और उसके बाद बस फिर हम हर चीज़ free में देने के लगे रह जाते हैं. So I think the vote banks have to sort of, but as leaders, we कंट्री में सब कुछ हो सकता है. मोदी जी आते हैं, पूरी रोड क्लीन हो जाती है ना, तो वो एक दिन के लिए नहीं होनी चाहिए, वो रोज के रोज होनी चाहिए. सो माय पॉइंट इज दैट वी कैन डू इट, बट यहाँ पे पॉलिसी से नहीं होगा, यहाँ डंडा लगा के काम होता है. अनफॉर्चुनेटली दिस इज द वे दिस कंट्री वर्क्स. आई विश इट वाज़न्ट, right? But the point is, at least coming back to our factories, we are going down to suppliers, tier 1, tier 2. We're making sure, that they are following green process. But Roshan-san, we are far, far away, okay? I'm going to speak the reality. We keep talking to them. And the other problem comes, हम लोग सब कुछ follow करते हैं, cost बढ़ जाता है, तो बाकी के जो incumbent players हैं, वो price नीचे कर देते हैं. So, this is a bit of a problem, right? Yeah. Because this is where, that I keep telling everybody, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Anybody who's in Uso and Bolt, you better be in Jamaica and just sat by the beach. This is a long, long marathon. I think, you've got to be able to, but there is a lot of positive work. Sir, how long have you been in ICE? How long has Maruti been in ICE?
Well, ICE has been around.
How long?
The
how long?
technology has been for a century.
And how long is EV, right? I mean, 10 years, maybe? Really, 7 years? Or, we are just trying to build Rome every day in this country. Unfortunately, Rome every day बनते नहीं है. हम कोशिश जरूर करते हैं, लेकिन I will also say, what is the most positive side of all of this? The big boys and girls are in the party, and they have a lot of money. And when the money comes, scale आएगा. But I would say, this is again something that, at least for me, I'm going to continually, for whatever you know me, I'm a madman, just keep putting my own money at this journey for the last 7 years. I think We will move towards more greener and cleaner energy. But I'm not just talking about OSM. I think there are going to be alternate technologies. Sir talked about absolutely. There will be new areas. What I do believe is that if the government puts money towards promoting those technologies, आप subsidy दो ही मत, आप fame subsidy किसी को मत दो, लेकिन आप technology development में, so I don't want Sundar Pichai's and Satya Nadella's going outside. सब young men and women जो यहाँ पे हैं, इधर ही companies बनाओ, technology की development करो. Sir कह रहे हैं we've got 40 crores for CSR activities developed. There's a lot of money here to develop technologies. मैं बार-बार एक ही चीज बोलूँगा, इस country की सोचो थोड़ा बहुत, अपनी सोचो थोड़ा कम, right? I think we really, in China, they really do think, okay, the central government puts a lot of money. It ain't going to happen over here. But I think as a combination of a force, we all have to, and the other thing, there's this feeling of there is competition. This is not a competition, it's complementary. Abhi aap bol rahe na, 2, 4, 5% hua hai. It's a long way to go. So if we all work together, we've got to build a village, right? And I'm really, really saying, if we're going to build a village, let's all build products. Whoever builds a good product, if Maruti Suzuki builds a better product, somebody else is going to work harder to build a better product. And at the end, only, again, 2 people. First, the women are going to win, and then the men are going to win. And that's the most important part. Let's not forget the Nari Shakti of this country, right? That's the most important. 48% of that population is Nari Shakti. And we got to put them ahead, not just on talk, but in substance. Yeah? I'm not standing for any political office, yes, so I just want to say that too.
I just wanted to compliment 2 points that ma'am made. I think the recycling and the scrapping problem are very, very surmountable, are very, very addressable problems. They need minimal intervention. As you rightly said, if the inspection and certification happens through a good, clean infrastructure, honest infrastructure, and that is available in the country, and it happens at regular frequency, not just commercial vehicles, but all vehicles. This immediately, the vehicles which are not good, they become candidates for ELV, for scrapping, end of life. And then the circularity system moves. So it's quite addressable. The second part is about battery. And the last part that you said, that we are able to draw but not extract the lithium out of it. I think there are startups available in India. All we need to do is connect such startups with big companies. There's a huge amount of synergy in connecting startups with large companies like ourselves. Large companies have a way of, as you rightly said, they bring capital to the table, they bring scalability to the table, but since they are large by design, they may not be the best innovators. Sometimes innovation happens, as he said, to the boy in Raipur. So these boys of Raipur or the girls of Jaipur, we have a incubation program where we invite hundreds of startups and we give them open challenges. If you can solve this problem, we'll give you a proof of concept, we'll onboard you. Many of these startups we have already made our business partners. We give them free proof of concept, we welcome them, we have competitions. And right from our managing director, he attends competitions for hours together because he wants to understand the value that these brains bring. So this joining the dots between startups and large corporates has immense synergy.
Right.
So actually, to go back to the question that you asked, that's my favorite question on mobility and public transport. There's a very big lesson in Delhi on that. Delhi has taken several technology measures to reduce tailpipe emissions from vehicles. Such a big scale CNG program, diesel is out, phasing out 10-year-old vehicles, 15-year-old petrol vehicles, restrictions on truck entry. All of these things have happened in Delhi, and we have leapfrogged to BS6 like everyone else, right? And today in Delhi, technically, 12% electrification has also started. Even after doing all of that, vehicles today are the top polluter in Delhi. And what we are not realizing, that these technology measures are getting negated and undermined because of the explosive traffic on the road. So what you are gaining there, you are losing it here. And when we looked very deeply at that mobility crisis in the city, which mirrors the national crisis actually, it's very clear, like imagine a city like Delhi with so many vehicles already. Last year, it added 6.4 lakh vehicles. And if that is the way it continues, right? And to that is added 1.1 million vehicle that enters Delhi daily, okay, from the NCR. That is the explosion. Now, as a result of this, we have to understand so much of investment happening today in electric buses. That is a success story of India, actually. The way we turned it around, the electric bus segment, right? Delhi today has the highest number of electric buses in the country, more than 1,900. But if you look at the bus ridership, it's continuously coming down. I mean, just imagine, it's such a wasteful investment. So you've got these good buses, these electric buses to ply on the road, but nobody's boarding them. And why? Because you're looking at a bus as a vehicle, but not as a public transport service. When we looked at the granular data in Delhi, we can imagine that less than 1% of Delhi's bus stops have waiting time less than 10 minutes, which means in all the bus stops, you're waiting for half an hour and more, okay? Why will you board a bus? And a bus caught in a congestion is the slowest.
Right.
And so what we really have to understand to address this mobility crisis, while we have to scale up public transport system, but with that, the infrastructure for it, so that it's easy for us to access a bus and a metro. And more important, you also need restraint measures as well. So you need walking, cycling infrastructure, because all public transport trips end as a walk trip. So if you cannot walk to a bus stop or a metro station, you will not use it. And then some restraint measures. You have to make the car owners pay for the road usage, for congestion, for pollution, parking, you know. So effectively, your usage of personal vehicles has to be higher than usage of bus. But we have found that the journey cost in Delhi for public transport is higher than personal transport. So if this distortion continues, you will not be able to make any clean technology work.
Right. Oh, yeah, quick last word because we are...
I would agree with everything that she said and strongly agree. In the last part, my only small intervention would be, rather than create one bigger disadvantage than this, make public transport very, very convenient, respectful, dignified, fast and convenient. That can help much more. In fact, if you make a bus or a public transport for the premium segment, you'll replace more cars on the road. Because the premium segment will travel. You'll actually end up replacing more. So that they may be the right interventions.
Right. Okay, so I think we're kind of out of time, and I can talk for hours with this panel because we have such diverse viewpoints here, and all three of them are brilliant in their respective fields. But we're completely out of time, so which is why I'm not even taking any audience questions. I'm so sorry about that. But thank you so much, Rahul-san, Uday-san, and Anumita ma'am, for this enlightening discussion, I would say. And we can talk for many more hours on this. Thank you so much.